Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever it is, wherever you are. Thank you for listening and welcome back to the Backlog Busting Project, Episode 3 for March 31st, 2015. My name is Wes, with me as always is Randy, and before I let him introduce himself, we are now available on Stitcher, the free podcasting app, available at your app store of choice. You can listen to us or a whole fucking ton of podcasts, something like 50,000, ridiculous like that. Details on how to do that are in the show notes. Now that I have my shilling out of the way, hi Randy, how you doing?
Yeah, we're still podcast.
Yeah.
You came back. I didn't know if I would see you again. We have calmed down, did a couple articles and kind of gotten our piece out there a little bit.
Yeah, they'll have to wait until we kind of need to go back to the well a bit, but...
yeah, I would like to hope that the two games you played gave you some joy, unlike 2 weeks ago. Mine did for me, other than a few issues we'll get to. But, yeah, video games and friendship. That's what we get again here at Backlog Busting Podcast. I hope.
The project,
Unless I piss off Wes here in a little bit. We'll wait and see.
Yeah. At any rate, we'll go ahead and start things off, as we always do, with Play or Nay. It's going to be a bit on the lean side this episode. Really not a lot of stuff coming out that grabbed our attention enough for us to want to talk about them.
But the game I've been waiting for came out. I will be playing it when this podcast comes out, I'm sure.
Yeah. Because, spoiler alert, it's not the 31st right now. Anyway, MLB 15, the show, is where we're going to be starting off this episode. Releases March 31st, so today, as you're listening to this, for the PlayStation family, so that would be the PS4, PS3, and PlayStation Vita. It is developed, of course, by Sony Computer Entertainment San Diego Studio, and, of course, published by Sony. What can you say about it at this point? It is Sony's amazingly detailed baseball sim, where you can create a player, take them onto the road to the show, work them up from the minor leagues all the way up to the majors, and... yeah, it's pretty damn good, and it only seems to get better with each passing year, so...
And getting to it just gets better, they have added something to this game that I have wanted in a sports video game since I was a child. Mm-hmm. They are allowing you to take your team, your season, or, as you said, your road to the show player, from last year's game, and import them to this year's game, and continue on in your career or dynasty or anything like that. So if you want to play as a character for 30 years, you don't have to try to fit it in a year.
Yeah.
Like, baseball seasons obviously are very long.
Yes.
162 game seasons. So not only just playing through a season takes a lot, but then trying to, set up a dynasty and actually play all these games and build a team and stuff is impossible unless, you buy one game every 5 years or so.
Yeah.
Now, I could do that. I finished one season from last year's game, and I will be importing that season to the new game and starting season 2 on the new game. It's brilliant. I absolutely love it. Madden, I'm talking to you. Please do this. All the other sports franchises out there, please do this. And speaking of Madden, this is my Madden. Do they change a lot every year? Nope, not really. But I pay $60 every single year. If you look on my shelf, PS3 and PS4, I just have a huge group of them. I buy it every single year. I will again this time. It's a huge buy for me.
Yep, well, play for you, yeah.
Well, I will be playing the hell out of this game.
Yep. I'm not quite as big a baseball fan as Randy. I am still getting kind of the bug, though. Haven't really sunk my teeth into a baseball game in a while. This looks like the one I'll be doing it with. It's a play for me, too, because, hey, I'll be able to run my Mariners into the ground before the actual Mariners run themselves into the ground this year, as they always do.
Also, if you are a baseball fan, this is the game you kind of have to play.
Yeah,
if you like the realness of a video game being your baseball experience. Now, if you want to be a little bit more arcadey, let's go to our second game. It's for the Xbox One, and I'm sure it's on the PC and stuff. It is developed by MLB.com. It's been on their website the last year or two. and they're finally making it, on the just the Xbox. But that is RBI Baseball 15. They have brought back that title, and it is exactly as you remember it as a child. It is very arcadey. Obviously, the graphics are better, but it is straight up arcade version of baseball. So if you don't want to worry about pitch locations and pitch counts and fatigue and swinging at the right location at the right time, you just want to hit a button and watch the ball fly, this is the game.
Well, yeah, I suppose that's the true assessment. But for me, I honestly kind of feel like a lot of those little things are what make baseball fun. To me, at least. So, but if I'm going to play an arcadey version of baseball, I want it to be full-on, all-out, balls to the wall shit going down. Like, say, this is going to be reaching back into the vault, maybe a little bit obscure for people. But MLB Slugfest. Back in the PlayStation 2 era. Something like that, where it's basically the NFL Blitz formula applied to baseball. Those games were fun as hell,
Yeah, actually,
games where you can beat Ichiro in the head and he lights a fire, goes to the pitcher's mound, and beats the shit out of the pitcher.
Yeah, I actually was going to use Blitz as an example of games that, if you want to play the sport, but you don't want to worry about, like, the inner workings of it, then they're for you. Obviously, RBI Baseball, it wants to still be kind of true to the game.
Right.
So they don't go way up over the top arcadey, but they have definitely simplified it for players. But, again, if you're an Xbox owner, I'm sorry, this is the only baseball game available to you since 2K has given up their chances at it. So, this, to me, is a nay only because I am getting the show, and I am more of a realistic sports gamer. So, this one's a nay. Obviously, the show's a huge play.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same way. I'm going to say nay too. It's not for any reason like, it's not for I'm going to be running the show and that's it. It's just, again, more like I said, if I'm getting a more arcadey game, I want full-on arcade. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a nay for me as well. And, So we're going to move on to the third game in our list. For this week, and it's going to be the last one for the episode itself. We'll have more in the article, as always. It's going to be Story of Seasons, releasing on March 31st. Wow, there seems to be a theme here. All three of our games are releasing today. I don't think we ever got around to mentioning that about RBI, yes. But all three of our games are releasing today, quote-unquote, March 31st. Back to Story of Seasons. This is developed and published by, as far as we can tell, Xseed Games. We couldn't quite, in our research, tell if this was a actual game in the Harvest Moon series or if it was just a, kind of in that line of games. But it's essentially a Harvest Moon game. You start off, with a little small farm and you grow all the plots, get all your plots seeded up and tilled and grow stuff, and it's a slice of life simulator, basically, you're on a farm. So, I gotta be honest with you, I'm not really a fan of the Harvest Moon kind of games, which is kind of weird considering I like to play the Atelier series, since those are kind of, slice of life simulators as well. But, just not really my cup of tea, and I can't really explain why. I'm just gonna have to just go nay.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. These aren't my kind of games. From everything I've seen, this is not, quote-unquote, a Harvest Moon game. Yeah. But it's made by the creator of Harvest Moon.
Oh, yeah, and he can't use the name anymore or whatever.
Well, he can't use the name for this, but a new Harvest Moon game is coming out soon. The Harvest Moon, The Lost Valley. So, basically you get the same kind of game on either way. But, yeah, like I said, not my cup of tea. Definitely the right system for it. Yeah. I think it's perfect for handheld. For the people that are a fan of these kind of games. I don't want to knock them. I'm not going to say this looks like a terrible game. Just not my cup of tea. Perfect for on-the-go gaming. So if you're into that kind of stuff, like Animal Crossing and Harvest Moon and those types of games, definitely pick this up. But to me, it's a nay.
Yeah, it's just, I really can't explain it either because I would probably like to play Animal Crossing. Haven't really played any of those games. And like I said, I enjoy the Atelier series, which is, slice of life simulator. You go around gathering materials and synthesizing items in Atelier. I don't know why I don't like doing that sort of same stuff in Harvest Moon. It's just never been like my thing.
Well, maybe you should give this game a try.
Yeah. Sure, why not?
I turned him into a play.
No.
Yes,
shit.
I heard it.
Fuck. Damn
Next time on Backlog Busting Project, that is the game Wes will be playing.
This is
you heard it here first.
This is a shameless plug, but the way you said that, for some reason I was sitting here thinking, are we just aping Game Grumps now? Next time on Game Grumps, here comes the subscribe button. Shit.
No, absolutely not. What is Game Grumps? No, I've heard of it. Of course I've heard of Game Grumps. And watch them all the time. They're awesome.
God damn it.
Alright, so... breaking news, Story of Seasons Let's Plays will be going on every Wednesday. Wes, get on those.
Yeah.
Don't
sure.
disappoint our fans.
Sure. Okay,
I've now announced this.
Yeah.
Don't screw it up.
So if anybody's listening who wants to blow an obscene amount of money on a podcast that just started, I need a new 3DS, a capture card, a copy of this game, and just go ahead and throw out $1 million while you're at it. Anyway.
Well, sure that... People just gave Starship Troopers like $3 million in 3 days. They can give you some.
You mean Super Troopers?
Whatever. What'd I say?
You said Starship Troopers.
Whatever.
That would be the most amazing crossover in the history of cinema. Just Farva shooting at a Bugman for... Okay, moving on.
Wasn't it Starship Troopers?
Huh?
Yeah, Starship Troopers.
No, it was
Super Troopers. One.
No, it's Super Troopers.
Oh.
If you're talking about a funding thing that got $3 million in a couple days, that would be Super Troopers.
Oh, they're coming out with another one. Or I guess the second one came out, but they're working on a new Super Troopers and whatever. So I got the two mixed up. Whatever. I was talking about it with a buddy today, and he was talking about things blowing up, and I got the two mixed up. I apologize. But still, they're throwing millions of dollars at them.
Well deserved, because Super Troopers is fucking amazing.
So are we. Don't sell yourself short, Wes.
I don't think short and me have ever been used in the same sentence. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, some sort of
neither
podcast.
Has been on track, has ever been.
Yeah, let's see here. Oh yeah, we're supposed to be talking about video games here. Holy shit, imagine that. Speaking of those video games, it's time to go to the games we've been playing over the last 2 weeks. We're going to start off, as always, with our co-played game. That'd be Sleeping Dogs for the PlayStation 3. It was specifically played on the PlayStation 3 for both of us. Although Randy kind of wishes he knew about the PS4 remaster.
I'm so mad.
Before he
went over my head.
Yeah, he bought a used copy because he actually didn't get it on PlayStation Plus. At any rate, this game was developed by United Front Games, Square-Enix London, and published by Square-Enix. It originally released August 14th, 2012 for the PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. The definitive edition was released on the 14th for the October 14th, 2014. Wow, I skipped a whole bunch. Yeah. On the PS4 and Xbox One. Before we get into, our experiences with the game, I think a lot of people will know this already, but this game has a really interesting kind of development history. Started out actually as, I believe it started out as its own project, and then Activision found it, wanted to turn it into a new true crime game.
Because Activision.
Yes.
Yeah,
but let's not talk about Activision destroying franchises, because then I'll talk about Guitar Hero and get really mad.
Talk about, we'll talk
Call of Duty, or...
Well, how about we just wait and talk about companies that destroy franchises in the news section?
Yeah. Anyway.
When we get to that, okay?
Yeah. Anyway, so, started off as its own project, turned into a true crime Hong Kong, and then Activision dropped it like a sack of potatoes for some reason. Just decided, we don't want to publish this anymore. Square-Enix picked it up, turned it back into its own thing, and we get Sleeping Dogs. In it, you play as Wei Shin. He is an undercover police officer working to infiltrate the Sun Yi triad gang in Hong Kong. And it's actually a pretty good GTA-like game, Grand Theft Auto-like game.
So which way do you want to go first? Because there's several ways, I mean, especially with GTA clones, that you can go. Do we want to talk about the gameplay or the story? Which way do you want to go first?
I think we should dive into kind of the story first, because a lot of my issues that I'm going to bring up with the gameplay of the game stem from how it kind of interacted with the story.
Okay.
So, I figured you were going to start out there.
Okay, so I can do that. So basically, the story reminded me way too much of Fast and the Furious, where undercover cop tries to get into gang, turns into family, and you don't know what side he wants to work on. This one's a little different because he has a childhood friend named Jackie Ma, who is his into this gang. So there's a little bit more connection. Most of the characters that he meets early on are people he knew from his childhood. Mm-hmm. The leader of the Red Poles, right? Or one of the main Red Poles had a history with his sister.
Yeah, God.
And had no problem talking about it.
I was about to say that's why I was starting to kind of chuckle, because that was one of the things that kind of was interesting, because that's kind of like villain writing for high schoolers. But, just have him go, "I fucked your sister."
Well, yeah, but honestly, like the story itself is mostly basic. I mean, you've seen a lot of these things used in many of these kind of games, but to me, the characters themselves were kind of interesting. Actually, I found myself very invested in a lot of these characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
When there are moments in this game, whether you want to get into some of the spoilers or not, that made me actually care about them. There are a few deaths, obviously, in this kind of game.
Yeah.
And I actually went, oh. Like, it was like, okay, this is a big scene, this guy died, whatever, but actually, had a little bit of the feels.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. There's definitely a scene where I went, okay, now what? Now what's going to happen? And they do a great job of you kind of working up the triad hierarchy and meeting all these new characters like Uncle Po and Dog Eyes and all this stuff. And you will go from just trying to get into the triads into now you're this critical player where these two triad members are fighting for the new leadership. And they're both kind of coming to you either for help or
to get you out of the way, yeah.
Exactly. And it's very interesting. The story itself, like I said, it has some interesting points, but for the most part is very crime gang, GTA, Fast and the Furious, paint by numbers. Mm-hmm. But like I said, the characters themselves really kind of drive this story, and with that, and the voice actors and stuff, I thought they did a wonderful job.
Yeah. That's pretty much my thoughts on it. I was following the story a lot more than I thought I would. I figured I was just going to be going, okay, GTA clone, let's get through this. But I found myself pretty invested in the storyline, too. The problem I was having was I do have a little... I feel like they got a little rushed or something happened that, they had to cut something, because I feel like, number one, two of the later missions in the game are essentially the same exact thing. You're trying... or the same exact story setup where you're trying to rescue Jackie. And it's just like... it feels like one of those two was supposed to be somebody else, and they just went... we can't do that anymore, so, just throw Jackie into that one. Kind of thing. If that makes kind of, and then the other one...
So,
go ahead.
Before you go on, I just want to kind of clarify my point on what you're thinking, because trying to do my best not to spoil, but I think... you're saying is you're trying to save Jackie in both missions, and to me, it's you saved him in the first mission, and then you're responding to his text in the second one. It wasn't really, okay, I have to save him from this situation.
I guess.
But the build-up, I will agree, the start of the missions kind of were a little similar, but the way they ended and the way they kind of worked were a little different.
I guess I can see that. The other thing I kind of felt was that the ending comes on a bit too abruptly for my liking. I feel like there was there could have been some space for a bit more of, either rising or falling action in the climax. Because as it is, I feel like it goes from the funeral to the ending, and it just feels like it rises up to a point, and then bam, you're done.
You and I talked about this when we both finished, and at first I kind of disagreed with you. I thought the ending was fine. Thinking of it a little bit more, I remember myself when it happened going, okay, now the credits are going to roll, and then there's going to be an extra scene, probably to set up a sequel if they ever do that, and there wasn't.
Yeah.
It just goes, okay, now you can go back and finish everything.
Yeah.
I have not finished all the side stuff. I
haven't either.
I want to, if I get time, I want to go through it. Maybe I can talk about it, or both of us can talk about it if we get there.
In a future article, yeah.
To see if possibly, if you get 100%, if then it cuts another scene, which would be very awesome. I know some games went, it wasn't much, but in infamous Second Son, when I beat the game, whatever, and then it lets you go and get all the side stuff. But once you platinum that game, he makes note of it, saying, okay, I guess we're done here. And I'm kind of curious if Sleeping Dogs has that, but is more of a storyline thing, or if they just go, okay, you've 100%ed it now, thank you.
Yeah.
Kind of a deal. So maybe we just haven't got the good ending yet.
Yeah.
So I don't want to speculate, but I do remember kind of going, okay, I think there's another scene left, and there wasn't.
Yeah.
So I understand where you're coming from.
Well, I remember doing the same exact thing, and thank God they put a fast forward button in those credits, because
that fast forward button was kind of forward.
Yeah.
By the way, thank you for bringing that up. Video game people, for fuck's sake, we know thousands of people work on your video games. You don't need to add 19 lines of spacing in between each of them. Because I swear I held the fast forward button on Sleeping Dogs credits and still would see 4 names on the screen at any one point.
Yeah.
Put them together.
Yeah. Just kind of, honestly, I think it speaks to a lot that we aren't, finding too much to fault with this game.
Well, as far as story, we're going to get into controls and the gameplay. The gameplay is very interesting in this game.
Yeah.
As far as, so let's just get right into that, I guess. Yeah. Obviously, as we said, it's a GTA clone. Very much a lot of driving from point A to point B, a lot of shooting, a lot of fighting. This game does a great job of adding in some martial arts elements to it, especially early on in the game. Yeah. There are times where you kind of feel like they get away from it, but there are other missions where you can do one or the other. They add a lot of mini games into those stories to kind of mix some things up. Some work out great. Like the camera hacking system I enjoyed. Yeah. Coming up with the combination. Or the lockpick mini game was kind of fun. Because it doesn't happen if it happened every mission, obviously it'd get old. But those come up every so often. The karaoke mini game can kiss my butt. It's kind of boring. Yeah. And it is very finicky as far as giving you your percentage. Yeah. And when you don't care that much, it's difficult. And there's a trophy to 95% all of the songs, which I may never 90. Do.
The thing I like about karaoke is the first time I did the karaoke mission, I did not realize what was going on. I think I triggered it, and then I walked away to go do something, and I failed the song. And came back to a mission failed screen that said your karaoke is so bad the staff has banned you from the room. And I was like, nice. Yeah. So I'm like, what? What just happened? Restart. Oh, analog stick karaoke. Okay, sure. And that's literally verbatim what I sent to you on Facebook. Yeah. Right after I actually did it, I was like, okay, analog karaoke. Okay then, rolling with it. Minigame wise, liked the mini games. I think though that they overused. Which one was it? I feel like they could have had some opportunity for a little bit more variety if they had used different hacking mini games for instead of using the guess the number one for everything that was even remotely computer like. I feel like maybe the cameras could go with the 4-digit one, and then there could be something else for the like actual computers you hack. Yeah. Like maybe say guess a word from a list, given hints or whatever.
Yeah, and that I definitely see you there. I think I don't know how you played through the game. I know it popped up a lot on mine because out of all of the side stuff that you could do in this game, that wasn't a main mission. It seemed like the ones that I would do more frequently were the ones where you would beat up a gang in an area to hack the camera, so then you could arrest the guy, because it always seemed that helped me boost my health. My max health was always kind of wrapped in those areas.
Interesting.
Well, only because the collectibles always seem to be around that area. So I would go around and go, okay, I'm going to go collect
some health shrines,
some health things as I go, and then there always just seemed to be a gang right next to it.
Yeah.
So then I would go take out the gang and then do the camera while I was there and whatever. So I ended up doing a lot of those just because of some of the side stuff I was doing.
Yeah. I didn't quite do that much of the drug busts of the ones you're thinking of where you clear out the gang and hack the camera. I did find enough health shrines to get, I think, either 2 or 3 health upgrades. I found all but one of the jade statues, which probably speaks to me kind of messing up, because I noticed a lot of the jade statues were in incredibly obvious spaces during story missions. But I still feel like I did a lot more of the side content than I would have in a normal, in a GTA game on my first playthrough.
Yeah, and I give them credit because it seemed like most of the side missions and or collectibles weren't just, hey, go get this, just so you can get this trophy. It was like, like the collectibles here's health upgrades. Yeah. Go get this, it'll give you a health upgrade. Go get this, and you can go learn a new move. Yeah. Go get this, and your strength will grow. And all of this kind of stuff. So it was like collectibles to actually improve your character. Yeah. Instead of collectibles to be collectibles.
Just be there,
world. Some of the, I will say, basically this game to me was they did a ton of things. They never did anything amazing. I will never go back and go. Sleeping Dogs had the best fighting system. Obviously, it was nowhere near the Arkham series from Batman. I think the fighting system, that was way better. The driving system was not terrible, but not great. Yeah. The camera, when you drive, seemed like it was a little close at times and drove me a little nuts. But it wasn't terrible. The shooting mechanics were fine, but I've played better. Yeah. But again, it's a lot of good things into a pot, which made, to me, a pretty good to great game. Yeah, absolutely. Now I'm blanking on what bad thing I was going to bring up, and so go ahead. I'll get to it in a second, because I just...
while you're trying to reboot your brain there, I will say, kind of as an added thing, one of the most frustrating things that happened to me this go around I'm gonna use is there is an achievement in the game for driving 2 full minutes in a car without taking damage to the vehicle.
But you have to keep your speed up.
Exactly. And I'm sitting there, and I was actually en route to a story mission, and it just so happened that I was basically all the way across the map from it. And I was like, well, okay, I'll just drive to it. I can't find a taxi for shit, so I'll just drive to it. Yeah. Get in my car, start driving, and I'm almost there, and I look down and I realize, holy shit, I'm at I think I was at 1:15 seconds for the Queen Drive award. And I'm like, I may have a chance at this. So I'm sit there, I pass by where I need to turn to go to the mission. I'm still trying to drive, and the seconds are ticking away, and I'm getting there, a minute 45, a minute 50, a minute 55, and I'm just like, I can see another car coming, and I'm just like, okay, I gotta keep my speed up and doing all this. And I thought I was in the clear. I was starting to celebrate. I left my finger off the R2 trigger, and I do not know what happened. I don't know if I didn't see if I hit something. I don't think I let go of the accelerator that much to slow down enough. But at 1 minute, 59 seconds, and 745 milliseconds, it stopped the streak. And I'm sitting there, like, mid-celebration going, you fucking kidding me?
That's like, what you get for premature celebration.
It's just like...
But no, and actually you brought up the point that I was going to bring up, and the solution that they had, which I was dumb enough not to realize till 85-90% of the way through the story, is every single mission you get just seemed to be on the other side of the world. Especially later on in the game, if you decide not to play anymore, you always come back in one of the hubs. Mm-hmm. And the main mission always just seemed on the other side of the world. And that just drove me nuts. Because I got tired of driving it. Because the world is not that big.
Yeah.
So, and the streets are very narrow. And you're going to hit shit as you go. And it just drove me nuts. Until, with 4 missions left, I realized there was a taxi system. And you could skip all of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if they said it in a game that they had taxis, or if it was just implied, and I was just dumb.
Nope.
I missed it until 4 missions to go. I went, oh.
And
okay.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever implied in the game. If you're paying attention, you'll just randomly notice, oh, hey, there's a conversation above that car. What the hell? Yeah. But, that's the other thing I wanted to bring up, kind of tangentially related, the driving system. There are 2 kind of experience bars you can increase during the course of the game.
Oh, I know where you're going, and I'm going to agree, I think.
One is triad experience, where you gain experience for how efficiently and how varied you are in beating the shit out of anything that dares look at you funny. And then there's co-op experience, where you start with a full bar and you lose it during a mission when you do anything that breaks the law. This includes property damage, which is probably the number one thing that you will lose XP for in this game, because you take property damage if you hit so much as even look at another car funny while you're driving.
Or a light pole.
Or a light pole.
Or a traffic cone.
Yeah.
Actually, I think a traffic cone's okay. I don't think I got dinged for a traffic cone.
No, I got dinged for traffic cones a couple times.
But, that wouldn't be so bad, but there are several car chases in this game.
Yeah.
And every time you hit things in that car chase, or when they are chasing you and running into you, you can ram them, but if you accidentally bump another car as you're ramming them, just say goodbye to your 3 stars.
Yep.
On your triad thing, with that meter, I just wanted to bring up something I very much enjoyed in the fighting system, and that was the environmental kills. I don't think there was enough where I went, it's very varied, and there was always something new to kill somebody with. There were some at the end that were completely different than the beginning, obviously, but that middle part of the game, it always seemed like it was the same 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But, oh my god, some of those deaths.
Yeah.
I would kill somebody with something and go, okay, I don't want to do that ever again.
Yeah.
I don't want to drop a motor on this dude's head ever, or shove this guy's head through a fan.
Yeah. I'll just stick
They are brutal.
I'll just stick with hitting the attitude adjustment into a box of glass for some reason. Somebody just left a box of glass lying around.
Yeah, sure.
Sure, why not? So, it's just little things like that kind of keep you from going, great game. Like having to drive halfway across the map for every mission. Yeah,
but to me, that's normal GTA clone.
Yeah. Honestly, by the end of it, though, I was actually kind of enjoying the trying to, weave in and out without hitting shit.
Yeah, they do a great job. I will give them this with their social hub.
Yeah.
Where there was only one other person on my friends list that have ever played this game, and they've only played it about halfway.
Yeah.
But actively going back and like I was telling you, I'd go back and check mission scores and going, oh man, I beat my buddy Corey left and right. And then once you started playing it and I went back, because it was partially to see where you were in the game, because your last score was the last mission you were on, so I knew I could message you about, what did you think about this?
Yeah.
But when I would go and do that, I would notice that Wes is kicking my ass in every mission.
Yeah.
But not only do they keep track of that, you can do that, but there are several, like the clean driving as long as you can. They kept track of that. Longest jump, car and bike, max speed for the longest time. I like a lot of stuff like that, where I could go, okay, how are they doing on this? Now I'm going to beat him here. And just they add little mini
nice
games
little
that
feature,
you can do. Now, I do wish that there were other mini games like the karaoke, where we could then compete for a high score.
Yeah.
But maybe that'll happen in the second game.
Yeah. So, I think we've kind of talked up Sleeping Dogs as much as we could.
So before we move on, I do have to ask if there is a Sleeping Dogs 2.
That's not an if. It's actively in development.
Okay, well, if it comes out.
Yeah.
Video games, we know...
Yeah.
Have,
I guess...
Especially nowadays. Play or nay Sleeping Dogs 2.
Oh, God, play.
Absolutely. Play for me, too. And if you have not played Sleeping Dogs...
Go play it.
Do yourself a favor and
load us up on Stitcher and go play it.
Yes.
Or I suppose you could leave it playing on your computer. Whatever you do, go play Sleeping Dogs while listening to us. That'd be great. So we're going to move on here. I believe we're going to move on, to your game, sir.
Yes.
It is going to be Conker's Bad Fur Day for the Nintendo 64. Developed by Rare, and actually I think Nintendo published this one for them.
It said Rare on both.
Okay. But at any rate, it released on March 5th, 2001 for the Nintendo 64. It was re-released as Live and Reloaded on June 21st, 2005 for the original Xbox. I have never played this game, but I will always love it for the music that is currently playing under... Well, probably not currently at this point, but...
Okay, so hold on. As I don't know if you want to play the whole song. We'll just get into this right now. I have not 100% finished this game. I will, and I am moving on to another game as well. I will have 3 reports in 2 weeks. There's a story behind that I will get to. However, the most notable thing in this game that people remember is a song by a giant turd. Wes, whether you want to just play a snippet or the full version, do so now.
Me. I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you. A huge supply of tish comes from my chocolate starfish. How about some snack?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And that is the stuff that I liked in this game.
Yep.
Now, before I get to that, let me talk about some of the things I did not like, because there are several. And most of it is gameplay related. This game obviously came out for the Nintendo 64. For those of you that have played on the Nintendo 64 and remember that controller, it was different. It was one of the first. This joystick wasn't the best. It's not the most perfect or very much precision to it. Yes, if you push up, you go up. But if you want to just hit the right exact spot, that joystick definitely was not the best. And unfortunately, Conker thinks it should be. There are several moments in this game where it wants you to do precision moves or just hit this right spot, and it is near impossible with a Nintendo 64 controller and will drive you nuts. There is a learning curve to the controls for sure. On top of that, the camera plays with you. I think it was... What am I trying to think of? It took some of the things that were said about Super Mario 64 and like some of these early 3D games and took it to heart that the camera wouldn't stay behind you or it wouldn't stay in the right spot, so it would try to force it. Unfortunately, it seemed to want to do that every time you jump. Every time you jump in this game, the camera corrects itself. So if you're trying to do a long jump, there are many times where, especially, like I said, where they want you to do a precision jump, that you will take this jump, the camera will adjust, and you will land someplace you did not want to. And it could just be 2 inches away from where you needed to, but that will end in death. Other than that, the game itself has been very enjoyable, other than those rage-inducing issues that I've had. I have had times where I just could not play the game anymore because it has decided that me climbing a ladder was impossible. And sure, you want to call it period of time, whatever. I don't agree with it, because as we look at games now, you have to look at them as they are to me. So I will, I have to knock it points for that. I'm sorry. If you go, well, it came out in the N64. Well, yeah.
Well, yeah.
But I will... go back and play Conker, and then go back and play Banjo-Kazooie, which came out, I believe, before Conker, by the same company. Mm-hmm. And Banjo controls better, and the camera was better, in my opinion. So that is why I still knock points down for Conker, because there are games that came out around its time by the same people that worked better. So, yeah. But with that said, let's get to some of the good stuff. The story itself, there's not much to it. Conker got drunk. He went the wrong way. That's the story.
Yeah.
Stuff happens. There's a bad guy who put a glass of milk on a table that is missing a leg, and then got mad when the milk spilt, and then wanted his super scientist to come up with a solution for his broken table. And instead of putting, just a piece of wood there that worked, the only thing that the scientist that could come up with to make it work was a red squirrel.
Okay, then.
Why, I don't know. But that's the plot. They are coming after you because you will fit perfectly on this table to make it so the milk does not spill. Go for it. You're wanting to say something.
No, Well, no, my brain just kind of went, I have to try to say something about the ridiculousness of the storyline, and then my mouth was just like, no.
But that's
really.
just the main story.
Yeah.
That is, like, the overall theme of the story, which I'm saying, that is bare bones. Now let me get to the good stuff of it, where you meet a lot of very interesting characters, and they are all fun. Some are a little raunchier than others, like an old bee that wants to do not PG things to a sunflower that is well developed in areas you wouldn't think a sunflower would be. Obviously the big giant poo. A cog with a very dirty mouth. Just things like that. Weird catfish creatures. Things like that. It's basically just a cast of characters that are very interesting. And you have a lot of fun with them. The missions are pretty short. And what I love about this game so far is it loves to make fun of itself.
Yep.
It absolutely does. It knows it's a video game. It doesn't hide the fact that it's a video game. Conker finds a new move and pulls out the instruction manual out of his back pocket. He comes into this room at one point that I got to the other night where he sees a big giant snake statue and there's this ominous music and Conker stops and goes, "Come on, music guy, give me something with a beat. Give me something better than this." And the music changes. So things like that, I definitely give credit to Conker for doing. It's a different take on a platform game. With that said, like I mentioned earlier, I've not finished it. And that is because I was trying to get through it actually last night.
Yep.
I was going to marathon it.
This is an amazing story. I'm just going to butt in here. I was going to set this one up for you.
Okay, go for it.
Well, no. I was about to say, and why are you not finished with this game yet? And then let you tell the story. So, because I just wanted to let the world know I was still here.
No, you're sleeping. He's talking about how he hasn't slept. So he's taking a nap while I talk about Conker. It's okay, Wes. You don't have to pretend.
Sweet.
Anyways, so I was going to marathon this last night. I was all ready to go. I'm working through the game pretty well, and I got to a point that at first had me completely stumped. That's another thing about this game. The puzzles are very interesting. They take a different take on puzzles, and some of the solutions actually make you think. And I love that about this game. So this one, you're in a dance club, and you're trying to get this one door to open. And every time you get a button, one door will open, and you get off it, and obviously the thing will close. So you're trying to move things to the right place. Mm-hmm. Well, in this club are rock people. And one of the rock people is asleep behind the bar, so you can roll that rock person, which you'd done earlier in the game, so you knew how to do that. Well, that opens up one button. So then you go around and try to figure out how to get the next button. And you can't do it. So I will admit I had to look this one up. And it said that you had to go over to the keg and get drunk, which again you had done earlier in the game. I guess I did not see this keg. And even at that point, I would have never figured this out. It has said that you then have to go up to one of the rock people that is by this door and piss on them, so he goes into a ball. However, if you just piss on him and that's it, he gets up and punches you in the face, as most people would do after you piss on them. You have to, once you piss on them long enough and in the right direction, and I guess strong enough to then roll him with your piss through the door, and then you can move on to the next part of the platform. Last night, I guess I could not get the strength in the piss to move on past that part. I tried for about 20 minutes and then went, instead of trying to do this anymore, this story would be perfect for now.
Yep.
So I had to tell that story, and I will go on to finish this along with the 2 games that I will be playing for the podcast in 2 weeks. But it is that kind of stuff in this game, which I understand why people love it so much. Again, the controls have not aged well at all. The camera is definitely of the era, and going back and playing it will frustrate you at times. But the story and the characters and the humor, even for a 31-year-old like myself, will get you at times.
Yep.
And peeing on a rock strong enough to make him go through the doorway has definitely got to be one of my highlights of Conker.
Yeah, so you kind of answered one of the questions I was going to ask, because you said something about the puzzles make you think. I was going to ask, is it make you think in a Portal way or make you think in the cave or Monkey Island way? Kind of sounds like it's swinging towards the latter more than the former.
I would never say it got quite Portal puzzles.
Well, let me rephrase that real quick.
Where you can look around the room and
logical as opposed to, okay, what the fuck were the developers smoking? Yeah.
I guess you just have to be in the right mindset.
Mm-hmm. The mindset of peeing on rock people.
Exactly. It's like, what kind of craziness can I do to make this happen? There are definitely, like you were saying, the cave moments in Monkey Island where it's like, I would have never thought of that. Mm-hmm. There are a few puzzles like that I have encountered. I will admit, before playing this game, I have watched reviews. I watched the Completionist review. Please go check that out. It's awesome. So I kind of know what's ahead of me and how the gameplay is going to change. So I'm really excited to fight these Nazi teddy bears or whatever they are, and go from there. So I'm curious how the gameplays works. The humor is just great in the game, and like I said, it is very self-aware that it's a video game, and it likes to do pop culture references all the time, like Terminator and Jaws, and I've seen stuff like that. So I will definitely be finishing this game in the next 2 weeks. And yeah, any other questions about Conker?
Not really. I think you've said your piece on how absurd it is. I've always appreciated the fact that, they had the balls to do a opera with a giant pile of shit.
Yes.
I honestly, from the second he said he was going to do this game, I was like, sweet, I get an excuse to listen to the Great Mighty Pooh on loop for a while. But, I haven't played the game before. I will say, to kind of go back a little bit, back in time, because I was too busy dozing off to say it back when it happened. But, product of the era kind of stuff, I still kind of have to beat that drum, because platformers moving to the 3D space still were kind of in flux for a lot of the the N64 and the PlayStation 1 era. It wasn't until, later in the lifespan, I would probably say around Conker's release is the time they really started to go, okay, we need to figure this shit out.
Well, with Conker, they hadn't yet.
Yeah.
And that's where, like I said, I give it a little bit of leeway.
Yeah.
And this is where it's definitely going to be a blog post of mine at some point. If you ever look at people's top 10 games of all time, top 100 games of all time, or whatever, and they're talking about game, not influences. Like my your top 5 was your top 5 influences for you.
Although I will honestly say there is a lot of overlap on that list with my favorite games.
No, and absolutely. Yeah. But that still goes with, because it had influence on you. But as far as people going, these are the top 10 greatest games of all time, and then they add the first Super Mario Brothers, it drives me nuts. Because it's not one of the top 10 games of all time. It's the most influential game of all time, or one of. But that's like saying product of an era, so Pong is the greatest game of all time because it's basically the game that set this thing on fire.
Yeah.
But Pong's not a great game. I would say Super Mario Brothers is a good game. There are way more in that era that are better.
Yeah,
but
I see your point.
I mean, that's where I go with Conker. It's like, listen, I give it some passes. Like, obviously, you give Super Mario Brothers passes because it's not 3D, whatever. It has no story, whatever, because they couldn't tell stories on the Nintendo. But as far as gameplay goes on that, there are games that have come out since that do that better than what Super Mario Brothers does. And I don't even think Miyamoto would come out and say that Super Mario Brothers was the greatest game he ever made. I mean, so it's those kind of things that will drive me a little nuts. Influence on gaming and best game are two completely different things, and some people tend to forget that.
Yeah. So, now to transition to my game. I don't really know how to go from there to there, but from point A to point B, so we'll just kind of wing it. My game was Front Mission 3 for the original PlayStation. Developed and published by Squaresoft before they became Square-Enix. Released on February 29th, 2000 for the PlayStation. Kind of released during the period of time where it seemed like you couldn't throw a rock without hitting a Squaresoft release on the PlayStation that year. Holy crap, if you go back and think about it, it's like Front Mission 3, Final Fantasy 9, Parasite Eve 2... whole fucking lot of releases.
So, before you get into the game, Wes, I do have to ask, did you enjoy it? Did you finally get to play a game that you liked? Because I know the other 2 weeks were rough on your gaming life with The Cave and Hotline Miami.
I thought you were saying, both episodes. I was like, hold on, I liked my games in the first episode.
No, the 2 weeks in between, yeah.
I think
did this bring back your enjoyment of video games?
A little bit, but that's not exactly raising the bar high after Cave and Hotline Miami.
Yeah.
I will say a lot of this, now that I've actually played through a large portion of the game, I've beaten the branch I was on. We'll put it that way. We'll get kind of that in a second. Now that I've beaten that branch, it's lost a little bit of its luster for me because I played it originally, played a little bit of it, and I liked what I saw back when I originally played it. which was back when, like, on the original PlayStation, roughly around the time it released. But I never got around to beating it. So, to go back and play it on PSN, I was like, sweet, I finally get to finish this. Yeah. And in the process of doing so, I kind of found a few chips in the armor. But to go back to the setup a bit, this game you play as Kazuki Takamura. He is a test pilot for Kirishima Industries, testing Wanzers, which I probably butchered the pronunciation on that word. It's basically a German word for walking tank, which is essentially what a Wanzer is. It's a walking tank where,
It's a Metal Gear.
Not quite. These aren't
Damn it.
nuclear armed.
Damn it.
They can shoot missiles,
I
though.
tried.
They can shoot missiles, though, if you equip them properly. But they get shotguns and machine guns and rifles and even missiles, right? So he starts the game. He's delivering test Wanzers to the Japanese military, and while he's doing that, an incident occurs, and he basically gets thrust into this, big multinational power struggle over a nuclear weapon, or I won't say exactly a nuclear weapon. It's a very powerful nuclear-like device called Midas, MIDAS. I can't remember the exact acronym for it, right, or the full acronym for it right now, what Midas actually stands for. They do actually name it at some point in the game. I've just forgotten it. But the interesting thing is, this game actually has two distinct plot branches, and they actually split off at pretty much the first choice you are given in the entire game. And it's a fairly innocuous choice on its surface, but it's basically a really good display of the butterfly effect, where this choice kind of snowballs into bigger and bigger things.
I just want to throw in there, obviously this game came out way before, but it reminds me a lot of, now I can't remember if we did it on a practice episode or it was the first episode, but, no, it was a practice, but I played Wolfenstein, The New Order. The exact same thing happens there, where you have a choice very early on, basically in the first chapter, where then it's two complete different branches as far as the story goes. So,
well,
have you been able to play a little bit of the other branch that you didn't play yet?
Yeah, actually, the other branch was the one I initially started on.
So, is it like I said with Wolfenstein, where it just changes a couple character things, or is it now the whole game and the whole story goes in a whole different direction?
It's still very much the same events, but you get the same major plot points are hit. Some of the subplots go a lot differently, though.
Okay.
Like we'll get to that in a second, because that actually leads to one of my complaints about the game.
Yeah, go for it.
But the choice, not to get too spoilery, but you're basically given the choice of your best friend is there in town on unrelated business. You're finished with your business, and he asks, "Hey, do you want to come with me?"
And it's yes or no, and it
that
changes the whole game?
Yeah, it changes the results of the game, because what happens is, while you're gone, if you go with him, you don't receive a message in time, and it basically changes your reaction, the character's reaction to the event that sets the story in motion. I'm not going to get more specific than that, because spoilers, and, that's another thing. We initially started, we were going to do full spoiler full analysis, and then Brothers happened, and we were kind of like, we don't want to sit here and talk about this game, because people should go play it. And now I kind of notice we're kind of tipping around spoiler stuff for just about every game. So it's kind of weird how that kind of evolved out, but that's kind of a story for another time, I guess. Or a thing for another time.
Do you think people should play this game? Just right now. Would you recommend it to a large group of gamers?
No,
then
I
spoil the hell out of it, buddy.
The thing is I don't really want to spoil it anyway, because I'm terrible at that sort of thing. I don't like spoiling experiences for people unless it's absolutely necessary. So, to get back on track a little bit, That the story is basically, you get thrust into the middle of this vast power struggle between, what essentially, it's given, different names because it's set in, I want to say it's the 2200s. But, it's, the United States, Japan, and, the Philippines. And, it's a little more, complex than that, but it's geopolitics. Who cares? But they're tussling over this weapon. And, in one path, you kind of go with, you kind of start out with the USN, the United States, trying to figure out where this weapon went. And in the other path, you're with Japan trying to defend the weapon, essentially, at the start. I played, for the purposes of this playthrough, I played the path where you go with the USN. And, there are a lot of missions in that path, and a lot of them feel like filler. That's my first problem with the game, is a lot of the missions you'll sit there and go, okay, what are we doing? Yeah. What goal are we serving here? It's just kind of like, oh, go do a mission over here for a bit, and it just feels like it feels like busy work. And I could forgive this if it were a strong tactical game, but it's really kind of tactics light. There is wander customization. You get a whole bunch of different parts, and they can unlock battle skills. But as far as tactical options during battle, there's not really, you don't decide what way you're facing at the end of a turn. There's not really very many bonuses for flanking or attacking from behind that I found, and there's a lot of options before battle, but there's not very many during battle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's more prep work than...
Yeah, it's more prep work than it is, actual, okay, I'm in the battle and something didn't go right, now what? Mm-hmm. Because you don't get a lot of options to recover from that. And that leads to the next thing, which is a lot of the battles, especially, kind of starting to go middle to late game, a lot of the battles boil down to, hey, have you, built your wanders correctly? Because if you've got decent wanders, you're going to outclass everything on the battlefield, regardless of if your pilot sucks or not. And, it's like, okay, I sure built that tank up right. Yeah. It felt kind of hollow, I guess would be the word I would use.
Okay.
To sit there and, oh, hey, I have the best wander parts in the game, and now I'm just going to steamroll everything because they can't stop me. And then, to go back to the thing about poor pilots, if you don't have enough decent wanders, there's a lot of times where they force you to use all your pilots. So if you, by splitting the group into two parties, and if you pick favorites, you're going to end up boned. And there's not a lot you can do to stop it without grinding a lot. On the simulator, which is their version of free battles, basically.
Okay.
Let's see here. There was something else I wanted to add.
Well, before you do, while you think about that, I do have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about how at the beginning they have that one major branching point.
Mm-hmm.
You wish there were more? As far as then a tree would form?
There's actually a little bit of that in the game. None of them are as major as that first branching point, but there are a couple points where they're like, okay, plan A is we go up this mountain path, and then plan B is we break the dam and burst through. Basically,
that's just as far as how you want to do that mission. What I'm asking is,
would
you rather them take out? Well, okay, so it does kind of
there's it does affect which characters can join you, and a few of them are more than a few missions long.
Okay. But would you rather them take out some of that filler and add in places where then you would have to do more playthroughs to see all the different kind of endings? Or were you okay with, okay, here's two storylines, some things will change here and there as far as you said, they can join you for a few extra missions and so forth?
Yeah.
Or would you rather it, be able to branch out and So basically, if you and I had ended up playing Front Mission 3, would you rather us be able to basically have the same experience, or your choices made your own game?
I think it would have been great for that sort of branching to happen, but realistically, it wouldn't have happened.
This is not a game where it really would have worked out that well.
Storyline-wise,
the storyline was pretty set in stone. And
it's you're along for the ride, and your choices don't impact too much what's actually going on behind the scenes. I will say, I love how I was like, I'm not going to try to spoil anything, but I've got to mention this part.
Go for it.
The branch I chose has one of the most metal as fuck endings I've ever seen. You'll see what it means in a second. Because the last mission you take in the game, your party literally flies in on a space shuttle, drops Wanzers onto Capitol Hill, and storms the U.S. Senate in full session in their Wanzers. Just like, out of nowhere, just like, we know you guys have been behind a lot of this shit. We're dropping our Wanzers in and we're taking over. Just like, okay, yeah, that just happened. You know? That just happened. Holy shit. You know? I'm still trying to remember what it was I wanted to say. There was one other thing I wanted to cover. Another part of this game is that you may have noticed, if you're astute, that it is the third game in the series. At the time it came out, I'm pretty sure Front Mission 3 was the only game to ever see a Western release at the time it came out. Like, the first game and the second game were both on, I want to say, the Super Nintendo. And then the third game was on the PlayStation. They all released in Japan. So, some of Front Mission 3 stuff does assume that you know some of the geopolitical history from the previous two games. So, if you're dropped into the middle of this, you're just seeing a whole bunch of word soup, where you have no idea what's going on. But hey, you're shooting stuff in giant walking tanks, so that's pretty cool. So, it's got a bit of a,
So, before you go on, I was looking this up while you're saying it. Yes, Front Mission 3 was the first to come out in North America. Front Mission 2 was PlayStation release.
Okay. I knew one was on the Super Nintendo. So, Super Famicom, because it was Japan only. Yeah. The first game did get a re-release on the DS, I believe.
Yes.
Second game, I believe.
And the PlayStation, too.
Oh.
Front Mission first. In 2003.
Okay, and then the second game, I believe, still has not gotten a remake or official Western release. Fourth game got an official Western release on the PlayStation 2. Fifth game did not get an official Western release, but has a full fan translation patch.
It says for Front Mission 2, just as I'm looking up things, that Front Mission 2 is part of the Front Mission history that came out on the PlayStation. I don't know if that only came out in Japan.
Yeah,
as well,
I think it did, because the same place that did Front Mission 5 touts their Front Mission 2 translation. Anyway, bottom line on Front Mission 3, if you're a fan of tactical games and have got a lot of time to kill, it's not bad. It's not exactly earth-shatteringly good or anything, but a lot of it is, there is a certain appeal to being able to build giant walking tanks and blow shit up, on a tactical map. It's just, it's not the best experience in the world, So, that all being said, if you have any other questions,
I got one. Because you were talking about earlier how, Square had been releasing just a ton.
Uh-huh.
With this rank in the middle, the top, one of their lower titles.
I would probably go middle, but slightly lower. If that makes sense. Like, it's middle of the pack.
Final Fantasy ahead of it, you put Parasite Eve ahead of it, but you put it probably ahead of some of its lesser known. Yeah,
that sounds about right. I'd put, like, Final Fantasy 9 and Parasite Eve 2 ahead of it, for the 2000 releases, that I can remember off the top of my head. Yeah. But, and then, it's kind of in the middle, and then nudge it towards the lower end of the scale.
Okay.
would be about where I'd put it. It's the in battle tactics are kind of weak, but if you do the prep work correctly, it's fun. If you're the kind of person who likes mashing parts together to see what you can do with this specific build, it's a fun game. But if you're the kind of person who goes into a strategy game for, I do a bit of prep work, but I also want to be able to be, to change things with my actions on the map.
Like Fire Emblem.
Yeah. Or, I had it and I lost it. I would say to an extent, Disgaea.
Yeah. Disgaea is definitely things that you do on the thing.
Yeah.
Definitely more what you do on the field of battle than prep work.
Yeah. So it really just kind of depends on what you're looking for in your strategy game, I guess I would say. So I liked it, just I'm not gushing about it.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and let's talk about what we're going to do for the next podcast.
Okay.
Obviously, I have some Conker work to finish up.
Yep.
I don't know. Are you going to come back and tell us about the other branch, or are we?
I'm a little burnt. I'm not saying I don't want to play it anymore. Don't want to play it ever again. But I do want to take a break from the strategy aspect of it.
Totally fine.
So especially because it's not it's butterfly effect-esque in that a lot of the characters do change, but it's, from what I've read about it or seen in the early parts of it, it's still the same basic storyline. So it's just kind of like, or the same major events happen, I guess I should say.
Okay.
So I'm still just kind of like, eh. Oh, speaking of which, sorry, I know we just went into the transition. The thing I was going to say was filler missions. I mentioned there's a lot of them.
Yes.
One of my main complaints is during this branch you can have the ability to spend something like 10 to 15 missions helping a rebel faction in the Philippines, and you're helping them along, you're getting to know them, and it's all nice and pleasant, hunky-dory. Near the end of the game, in the in-game email system, you can find out the fate of the rebels, and it's literally they just die off screen. And it's I could tolerate it more if
through an email. By the way, these people that you knew, they're gone.
Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty much that. I could tolerate that kind of thing happening if it was the main villain going, oh, by the way, I just fucked up that rebel group shit in the Philippines that you've been helping, right? Mm-hmm. If he did it as a taunt during the story, that would be fine with me. But it was just like, I spent, a good 10, 15 missions out of this game helping this group, and you're just like, in-game email, oh, by the way, we kind of got our asses handed to us.
You shouldn't have left us, sir.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's just like, If you're going to end up doing that, I wish you would either upgrade it to the point where the villain actually taunts you with it during a cutscene, or just leave it unsaid.
Yeah.
To find out as an email, it's just kind of like, okay, sure. Thanks for undoing all that work we did. For no real apparent reason.
So you're going to put Front Mission 3 on as a back mission.
Yeah.
Haha. While I go ahead and I will definitely finish Conker. That'll be one of the first things I do over these next 2 weeks. But the game I will be playing, I have recently purchased a Wii U for myself and my son to play some games. But I have also decided there are a few games on that system I really want to play, and I'm going to use this podcast to do so. And I will be playing Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker because it looks very fun. Here's the funny thing. We have been playing, my son and my girlfriend and I have been playing the new Super Mario World that comes with my...
Super Mario 3D World.
Sorry for not knowing the title. I play it with my son. He calls it Cat World. He doesn't go, can we play the new Mario game or Mario Cat World? It's legit, can we play Cat World? Is how he sees this game.
That's amazing.
We are through 2 worlds of it. I will probably do a side review on the site for it once we finish it. I know the Treasure Tracker game comes from mini games that are on that game. We have skipped those because it is a single player experience, and I am just playing through the worlds with my son. We're having fun. So I've skipped those. So I haven't gotten to experience any of this, but everything I've read about this game looks fun. It's very puzzle-based. I love puzzle games. So I'm very excited to play it. So that is my game. As far as you...
Yeah. I wish I was playing Pillars of Eternity because
Stop it. That's all you talk about. The Pillars of Eternity. Pillars of Eternity. Play a different game.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Well, I really wish it was Pillars of Eternity because the backloggery, let me finish, chose Hydrophobia Prophecy.
Nah, no, wait, backlog. I'm going to go through your backloggery and delete Pillars of Eternity so you never get to play that game. Ever. Make you wait, sir.
But, yeah. Which, all I remember about this game was that the initial launch of it was, they hyped it up as a tech demo. Like, they were like, look at our water system. And then the game itself came out and it wasn't all that good. And then they came out with the Prophecy kind of patch/reboot and tried to fix some of the issues. And that's literally all I remember about this game.
So you're hoping that their fixes worked and you're not going to come into this as a big giant mess.
Yeah.
Wes, I apologize.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to this.
Evil.
I'm not looking forward to this.
So let's look at something that I'm hoping to look forward to.
Yeah.
I will say, okay, so let's just go right into it. The game that you and I are both playing is Crash Bandicoot.
Yep.
The original one.
Yep.
As a child, I played the hell out of Crash Bandicoot 2. Mm-hmm. I played a ton of that game. I have 100% of that game. Everything. Got all the gems. 100%. Everything. Multiple times. I loved that game when I was younger. I will say I have never actually even touched the first one. So, I know it's not going to be as good as the second one. But I am very interested to see how it's aged. Obviously, PlayStation games, for the most part, do not age well. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious. I am very sad, though, because I was trying to prep this weekend and get it all set up because it is on the PSN as well. And most PSN classics then also play on your Vita, which I love because then I can play it at work.
Yep.
Crash Bandicoot does not work for the Vita.
Oh.
So that ruined my plan of playing a game at home and of playing a game at work.
Yeah.
So I have to work around that.
Yep.
Other than that, I'm very excited. Crash Bandicoot, obviously from Naughty Dog. I love Naughty Dog and all the stuff that they do. So to go back to one of their root games is very exciting for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty nice, exciting time for me, too. I do kind of want to say, kind of go inside baseball a little bit here.
I honestly think we have done 3 of these podcasts, and we have said inside baseball on all 3 podcasts.
And what do you mean we? It's usually me saying it. But before we started the podcast, I was kind of doing a similar thing. I was kind of workshopping the idea of doing a similar thing to this project by myself.
Yes. And
one of the many test runs I kind of took at it, this was one of the games that came up, and I actually had some of the research, done and had a post kind of written up before you finally said, let's do what eventually became the Backlog Busting Project. And I will always just remember it for me finding the most amazing Wikipedia citation of all time. There is literally a citation in the Wikipedia article for Crash Bandicoot that says, Dr. Cortex speaks the line, "Prepare the female Bandicoot."
I'm in.
And I'm just like, just the dryness of that, the citation in perfect, MLA format of Dr. Cortex says, "Prepare the female Bandicoot" in Crash Bandicoot for the Sony PlayStation. Just I literally took a screenshot of it and just framed it. Okay, that's sure, that's a nice little scholarly citation there. But and then in the some of the research I did, I was like, it's amazing some of the things they did to make Crash Bandicoot run on the original PlayStation. But that's something we'll get into next episode.
Absolutely.
And now we're going to kind of go into the closing of the show. Kind of thing we normally do is the news roundup. And there was not really a lot of stuff that jumped out at us this week.
Except for the one thing that is taking the entire internet by storm. And I'm not understanding it very much. Yeah, we'll get into it. Go ahead. You explain why the internet is going crazy, please.
I'm trying to figure out which story you're leading me into. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, recently, something's been going on, behind the scenes at Kojima Industry, or Kojima Productions, excuse me, and Konami. Konami recently released, their quarterly statements and kind of their plan for the next, year. They're restructuring their studios, and there was a name that was notably absent from the list, and that would be Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
And this kind of started the internet rumor mill going, and it slowly started picking up steam because they also started removing every Hideo Kojima game since Metal Gear Solid has said a Hideo Kojima game on it. Like Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, 4, Peace Walker, all of them. Ground Zeroes even said a Hideo Kojima game on it.
Yes.
Well, people started, this Konami stuff came out, the letter came out, and all of a sudden the websites were changed so that the promotional art for Phantom Pain and the box art for Phantom Pain no longer says a Hideo Kojima game on it. And, that fed even more into the frenzy. And then, people started asking Konami, and Konami responded with the absolute most canned response I've ever seen out of a company, which is basically, he is hard at work on Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, and we hope to produce many more Metal Gear games in future. Without addressing, okay, why are the names being removed, anything. It's just, oh, he's working on Metal Gear Solid 5, don't worry about it. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. So...
But, to be honest, I mean, yes, Kojima has said this several times, but he's already said this is...
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid 5 is my last Metal Gear game.
I mean, he said that about 2 and 3
and 4.
Yeah, but, well, is that BS? Possible. But, to me, it's not a huge deal. It could be a huge deal, but the way people are reacting is a little over the top. Maybe he just wants to not be, like, in the top of this company anymore. Mm-hmm. He just wants to do his thing and help out here and there. I don't think it exactly means he's completely leaving the company for good once Metal Gear comes out. I mean, he might. I don't know. No one knows. As you said, it's all rumors to me.
Yeah.
It also could be Kojima being Kojima, and this is all a giant ploy, because that's what Kojima does.
Well, here's the thing about that, though, is this was in official communication to the shareholders. Like, this isn't just some fake press release that they put up on the side. It was an official communication to the shareholders of Konami. And it's like, that's a little
But it's
far.
also set up by Kojima's little Twitter going, I'm headed out, or something along that lines of his little... from what I've been told and from what I've read, he tweets all the time.
Yes.
And he tweeted something like, I'm headed out, or something of that nature, and has not tweeted since.
Yeah.
So, I'm not saying that's what's going on, but it would not put it past me if this is all Kojima having Kojima's fun. I mean, you can go back to Metal Gear Solid 2, which was Kojima's trick on video gamers.
Yeah.
By going, Solid Snake, oh, here's Raiden, ha ha ha, how funny was that? You all thought you were playing a Solid Snake. But, if it is him leaving the company, I don't think it obviously affects Phantom Pain. That game is basically completed, other than polishing it up. Kojima doesn't need to be there. I only have one question, and one question only. Is it going to affect Silent Hills? And if so, I will flip out. If not, then I don't care.
It might, in the sense that if he actually leaves the company, from what I understand, the deal is between Konami and Del Toro for Silent Hills. So if Kojima has left the company, then he's not working on Silent Hills anymore. So we'll kind of see where that goes, I guess, is the approach we're going to have to take on that one. Yeah, wait and see.
But with that said, he could have worked on Silent Hills, and it is now past his part of the working on it. He is, maybe they just wanted to use his name to get it out there, but he was just an overseer of it. And now he's saw, the story and the stuff they wanted to do. Now they're just implementing it into a video game format.
See, that makes me a little uneasy, because the last game Kojima oversaw that he didn't work on too much was Castlevania Lords of Shadow. Which was,
Well, but Konami, stop breaking games and products. But, again, to me, it's until official word comes out, it's all speculation, and who knows what's going on. It could be everything from he's leaving the company, and Silent Hills is going to go in this direction and be completely different than the PT trailer, or this could be a joke.
Yeah. So, one of the other things, this actually just came out today, I believe, while we're recording this. Halo 5 has gotten its release date. I believe it's October 27th, I want to say, off the top of my head. Professionalism, we have it. Crap.
Yeah, October 27th.
Sweet. Awesome. And really, that's about all I have to say about it. I've never really been too much of a fan of the Halo series. I played a little bit of it here with you back when, we kind of played a little bit of, I think it was Reach.
Probably. I don't know. Either one of them. They're all the same.
Yeah.
Sorry, Halo fans. I know they're not, and you're going to freak out. It's a first-person shooter. Whatever.
Yeah, I think it's become rather clear if you've listened to all 3 episodes of this show now. Neither of us are really big first-person shooter fans.
No, not really.
And a lot of the reason for that is, just Call of Duty and Halo kind of oversaturation sort of thing. Honestly, not really too much else to add on that story, for me anyway.
No. But it's good it has a release date that it can push back.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of pushed back release dates, Zelda U is now coming out, no longer coming out in 2015. The exact phrasing that the games director used was a 2015 release is no longer our top priority.
Well, yeah, I would hope the top priority is we're going to make a game that works.
Yeah. Yep. It sounds
Ubisoft,
like they have...
I'm looking at you. Your top priority should be we're going to release a game that works, not we're going to release a game at this date.
Yep. So, that's kind of... I think we got into this a little bit on when Uncharted 4's delay got announced.
Yes.
We would rather get companies take the time to polish their games. And this is probably going to be my article for this kind of in-between period is I actually started work on this when the Uncharted 4 delay was announced, and then we kind of got into Earthbound a bit more than I anticipated. So I have a little bit of this thought out, and then I'm going to work on it for this podcast, or this
next blog.
Next blog, thank you. Where I think now we're going to start seeing a bit more of a shift now back to we will release the game when it's ready.
Thank goodness. Because
this is the second big release I can think of now where the delay has specifically been, hey guys, we want to put this back in the oven for a bit. Zelda U was announced kind of, we're making this, we've never gone this open world before with this, and a lot of ideas are coming up. And we feel these ideas would be great in the game, so we're going to make sure we do put them in the game, do them right, and make a game everybody wants to play as opposed to, or make a game we can all be proud of as opposed to, well, we got this and, we just wanted it in 2015, so we cut this. It doesn't sound like, it sounds like it's mostly a feature-complete game, but they want to add more stuff to it.
Which I'm totally for.
Absolutely. So, but, I think my blog post is kind of going to be examining the trend of, how we kind of are starting to come back down the curve of companies instead of going, people don't like it when we miss release dates, so just push it out and then we'll push a, 13 gigabyte day one patch, Dead Rising 3.
Well, this is kind of going to be said as a joke, but there's a point to it.
Half joke, yeah.
I think, the joke of Duke Nukem has passed enough now that the game is out that companies are thinking that people are okay with getting pushed back. I think some of these games got pushed and here's our release date, we're coming out because of that Duke Nukem joke where it just kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. I think now that has finally been released and that joke has kind of died off, that people are not, or these companies are not going, oh, they're going to call us the next Duke Nukem if we push our game back a little bit. And they would rather go, I would rather be called the next Duke Nukem than the next Ubisoft game.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So
you went ahead and so let's just go right into that. Make sure definitely to go back and listen to our first two podcasts. Go back and check Wes's kind of semi-defense on Earthbound. I'm still trying to figure out why you love the game. That would be a different blog. Go back and check out mine on Nostalgia. And next week, go ahead and check out Wes's on game delays.
Yep.
And how they are there to make games better.
Yeah.
And my blog about who effing knows, because I haven't come up with anything yet. Usually there's something in this podcast that sparks something. It hasn't happened yet. All I can think of is the show comes out. The show comes out. The show comes out.
I'm sorry, I just remembered the last time you and I played baseball games together where I made my character specifically to make a green eggs and ham joke.
Okay, so we're going to leave you on this. We're kind of hitting our time, and I literally want to leave you on this story. Wes came over, created a character on the road to the show, made, like you said, green eggs and ham joke, and named his character mostly because he picked things that the commentators would actually say.
Yeah.
And ended up creating a character called
Fatty Ham.
Fatty Ham.
Yep.
Now, that's not even the best part of this story, because then he randomly had the game select what team he went to. And I believe it was the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, I believe it was the Tampa Bay Rays organization.
But there, obviously you start in the Double-A, where Fatty Ham played for the Biscuits.
Yep. And then I took a break from mine, and you started to create yours, and you were scrolling down through the list, and you passed by the E's, and I saw a name, and I started laughing my ass off, and Randy hadn't noticed it yet. I was laughing my ass off, and Randy's like, what the hell are you laughing about? And I was like, I just saw eggs, right? And Randy just kind of gave me a blank look. And I finally got my laughing under control enough, and I was like, you need to choose that name right now, and you need to choose to go to Tampa Bay. And I think it was starting to dawn on you, but it hadn't quite done it yet. You went back up to the name, hit it, we laughed at the way the guy said eggs for a bit, and then I finally went, then we could be green eggs and ham on a biscuit.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the humor on this podcast.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Be here all week, folks. Try the wheel.
And if you want more of that humor, be sure to come back in 2 weeks as we talk about Crash Bandicoot and Captain Troad's Treasure Tracker and Hydrophobia Prophecy and a little bit of Conker and some more news. And I'm sure I'll talk about the show a little bit because I'm sorry. That's what I'm mostly going to be playing in the next 2 weeks.
Yep. So until next time, as Will Wheaton once said, play more games.
What? Oh, I have to have a catchphrase.
Shit!
Pooh! Do your song again!
Acid squirrel, look what you've done! I'm blushing! Oh, what a world, what a world! Who would have thought a good little squirrel like you could destroy my beautiful flagginess? Oh, I'm going! Oh, no!
Now that's what I call a bowel movement.
Solid ending.
Nailed it!